Welcome to the Summit School District Spotlight. My name is Mikki. I am the Communications Specialist for the district, and today we'll be talking about safety and security in all of our schools. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Again, my name is Mikki, and today I am joined by Chief Operations Officer of the district, Drew Adkins. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Mikki.
Yeah, welcome. Today we're going to be talking about safety and security in all of our buildings and schools throughout the district. Safety and security is paramount, number one priority for our students and staff while they're in our buildings here. We understand that there's a lot of elements that go into safety and security. You know, it's not just what people think about. What are some of the other elements that people might not think about?
Yeah, well said. I think when you think of safety and security, you think of all the bells and the whistles and things like that, alarms and things that historically and traditionally would go with safety and security. But there's a lot, and obviously maintaining our buildings, all the buildings in Summit School District. The integration of the different security systems is one of the things certainly we've been working on this year. And then coordination with our first responders is huge. We've got such a great team of professionals here with fire, law enforcement, and other ambulance, certainly first responders, making sure our training is up to speed and we're talking the same language. And I think our culture with our kids and the work that our professionals, our educators are doing and our administrators, and making sure that our kids feel safe and they communicate openly. And then we practice, and practice makes perfect on our procedures and protocols. And, you know, in a close-knit community like Summit County, a lot of it's just the communication. And when you see something, say something, certainly is the motto that we go by. And then, and then when we have an opportunity to improve safety, security, as you said in the opener, there's nothing more important in Summit schools. That comes before learning or anything else, then we've got to take some action, and I think we have in recent years.
Yeah, and you had mentioned the school culture piece, and one of the big things that the school district is focusing on this year with everything else we do is the building caring learners in our school, which is one piece of our Vision 2020.
Right.
Can you speak to any little things that we're doing in our schools to better that school culture?
Well, I think certainly there's a lot of pieces that come into play when we talk about building caring learners, and that's the social emotional curriculum that goes into everything that we do when we roll out math or anything else. But I think also it's the ability to for kids to be able to have a voice, and we're going to probably talk about some of the tools that have come into play with caring learners, have a voice in protecting their own environment and having a say in when there is an issue, to be able to speak up about it through things like Safe to Tell and others, and having a good relationship with a school resource officer or a favorite teacher. And then also, I think, again, there's a lot of pride, and that is our motto in Summit Schools, the positivity, the respect, the inclusiveness, the dedication to excellence, and the D and the E and the pride, to really take pride in where we are and taking care of one another, which is huge for us. And I think our kids do that very well.
I think you're right. And you know, all the work like you've said, we've done in the curriculum and school connectedness and having that trusted adult at school and at home. And so these things have all kind of been addressed. You said the maintained buildings, integrated security, and we've been doing a lot of those in the last 3 years. So thank you, Summit County voters, for approving the 2016 bond measure that we've been using in the last 3 years through those 3 phases. What were some of the things that we've addressed with that bond?
Yeah, and thanks for mentioning that, Mikki. And in addition to our, and again, I'll applaud our community in supporting us in our facilities, and then in some of the things that folks might not even be aware of that we're doing here in Summit County to create safe, secure environments, and again, put interventions in place to support kids in what traditionally falls under the safety security umbrella, but people might not think of it in that sense through counseling, therapy, and connections with our community. Not only is that the mill and the bond, like you said, with the physical aspects of our building and the BEST grant, which is building excellent schools schools today, which we've been able to tap into, $1.2 million actually of it, which comes in the form of matching grants. So we put up 80% of maybe a new alarm system or something, and then get 20% back. So it's a great opportunity to really make the most of our taxpayer dollars to create these awesome environments that we have. But you mentioned what are some of the things we've been able to do through the mill and the bond, and thanks again to our community in the 2016 election, but ongoing. We've done things like create secure vestibules. So when you walk into our schools, you'll see obviously a check-in process, and doors where you walk in, there's an unlock, a sign-in procedure, cameras. Like the building we're sitting in, a lot of people don't know this TV studio is sitting in Summit High School. There are 93 different camera views in this building alone, all due to grants and some of the dollars through mill and bond, which creates a really safe environment, obviously, where kids, there's accountability, but also opportunities for us to solve problems and intervene when we need to. But I think some of the things people might also see is even through the new construction in schools, the way that we navigate in some of the roundabouts and traffic flows, which also create safe environments and ensuring that we don't have these traffic patterns where kids, parents, buses all collide and end up in a juggernaut that is unsafe for kids or anyone. When you walk through our schools today, you'll also see things like you'll see big strobes for hearing impaired, but also as a visual reminder to kids, really in moving through what sort of drill are we in and what's being asked of us. Are we evacuating the building? Are we locking down in a fire situation where we're leaving or we're staying, or was something else? And then I think that what else, other things, new things are voice evacs. So different than schools of yesteryear, where now you have an audible Siri-like voice who's coming through. I don't know if we have as many dialects as you do of your phone, but where someone's coming across the PA telling you what to do in a situation, and not relying on just kids remembering, what am I supposed to do in this situation, which is awesome. And then a lot of our door and our entry software, which is so fantastic and really elaborate these days. We actually have joined them all in a network called S2, which is incredibly intricate, where we have cameras, voice evac, and door entry all in one software-based system, where we can control a lot of those doors, entry, access, key card, who gets in, what time, whether it's the community band using our facility, or it's a sporting event, or we want to look at a camera and see what's going on in the pool at 2 a.m. or somebody's having a pool party. All those systems are obviously online at the touch of a keystroke, and we can really create better environments so that our communities can use them safely, and our students, and our families, and our staffs feel very secure while they're coming here. But a lot of innovation has really come into play really in the last few years. One of the coolest things, the new ones, is right here at the high school again, where we have the Raptor system. I don't know if I think you've heard of the Raptor system, but our viewers probably haven't. If you check in at the high school, now you show your ID at the front and do a quick background check. Takes only about 30 seconds, and then your ID that we all love so much, that picture, it's the picture of our license, unfortunately, goes right there on our chest, and it shows that you've been screened, and that certainly that allows you to move about in our learning community with the purpose that you've established at the window. But systems like Raptor obviously are there so that we can ensure the safety of our kids, and also I think our parents have been great about realizing that they check in that first time and then they're in the system. And our learning community has been great about really the transition. And we will transition to the middle school next year, and then start, the pilot this year has gone very well at the high school, but start moving it throughout the other schools.
Yeah, and I think that's so important. And you were talking about the secure vestibules at the school and the visitor management system that's being piloted here, and just how important those procedures are for parents to understand when they're coming to schools, what to expect, and great facts about, all 93, you said,
like
views at the high school.
93 different views.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And so that all those safety and security upgrades were prioritized in the design work, which is actually sunsetting this year. We're closing out phase 3, I think any day, finishing those last punch items. So all those systems are integrated and working, to keep all of our students and staff safe.
Yeah.
But with all that really high level, intricate technology that's being used in our schools now, it's then important to have staff effectively use them and be trained on them. What are we doing for that staff training piece?
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. And there has been a lot of training, a lot of professional development. We were talking about some of the things that are happening in our buildings, and certainly I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that we, through some other grant dollars and some rural school dollars and some mill and bond monies, we've been able to purchase radios. That's another big portion. Here in Summit Schools, we use 800 megahertz radios. And 800 megahertz radios, for those of you that aren't in law enforcement or fire or other, rescue or something else, 800 megahertz radios can talk throughout the state. And as long as you're within the borders of the contiguous Colorado east, west, north, south boundaries, you can talk to each other. So there's a lot of training that went into using a lot of these radios, and we can communicate directly with dispatch and a lot of law enforcement and first responder. So that's been giant for us, and there are also cameras on our school buses. So there's training involved with that. But I think what you're referring to is a lot of the standard response protocol, and you might see that on your screen now. But the standard response protocol came out of the I Love You Guys Foundation, which was a result of some parent initiatives after the Platte Canyon tragedy, very close to us in Bailey, and they came up with some protocols. And today that all Colorado schools and other schools are using regarding lockout, lockdown, evacuation, shelter in place. You may see that on your screen. I don't have that in front of me, but really looking down through some of those protocols and what you do when, and what that response looks like. That takes a great deal of training, not only on the part of our staff, but for our students. And we do that on a monthly basis. We don't do that alone. We do that with the sheriff's office, and we have a great deal of communication and collaboration with them. Feel fortunate to be a partner, and with Summit Fire and Red, White, and Blue. Had a couple this morning, and we're always trying to improve our craft, throw some wrinkles into some of those drills to make ourselves better. But in addition, I think, in every situation, we go through trainings with threat teams. So each school has a threat assessment team and a crisis response team, and those individuals have been trained really to look at individual situations, assess student needs, and try to intervene before they become an issue, so that we can do what's best for kids, and maybe we don't have a crisis on our hands. And obviously we couldn't do that without community support. And I think also we look at the training that we have. We're so very fortunate to have a resource like student resource officers, the SROs, that came out of recent conversations and collaboration and MOU between the Sheriff's Office and Summit Schools. And now we have, most people know this, but we have an officer, a trained officer at the high school and the middle school. In years past, we've shared one, and appreciate both entities coming together, and obviously community support to have that awesome presence, not only to be a support for kids, for kids to come talk to them, but an immediate response where you're not waiting for a 2 to 3 minute response from law enforcement when we have an issue. And most of the time, the relevance there and the awesome benefit is, again, as I mentioned, not the horrific crisis that may occur, but the relationships that are established, and then a link between a law enforcement officer and being in the know and having their finger on the pulse of what's going on with youth in our community.
Yeah, and our school resource officers, wear a number of hats while they're at the school. They're visibly present, but they're interacting and engaging with students every day. And our school resource officers actually teach classes as well, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Criminal justice, you can take criminal justice here at Summit High School. It's a CMC class, and you get a CMC credit and an SHS credit. I'm more familiar with a lot of the academic things as the former principal here, but you're right, they do wear a lot of hats. Can be seen at our athletic events and things like that. So great element here of safety security.
That partnership is really great, and we're really fortunate to have it.
Agreed.
Another element that's really important for safety and security is communication. Communication's key to keeping our schools safe, for, like you said, that relationship with emergency responders, that communication. It's important that the school district and schools prioritize communication with parents. Utmost, it's important for us, and at all stages of anything, that we're communicating with parents first and foremost. But it's also really important for students and families to feel free that they can communicate with their school and administrators as well, that direct line of communication. And I think one of those, like you mentioned, is the school resource officer. What are some of the other avenues that students or families have for that communication piece?
Well, there's nobody better to speak about communication than yourself, Mikki, as a communications director for the school district. And I think, what you believe, we believe, and we've worked on together as a district is, and you do an excellent job of this, is clear, transparent communication with our families. And whether it's a heads up on a weather event or something going on that's actually a situation that's being investigated in our schools, we want our stakeholders to know what's going on. A lot of times we have privacy issues regarding students or community members, but we try to do that in collaboration with the sheriff's office as well, so that we have a clear, consistent, common message that is timely for individuals. We know that individuals care, but I think the communication comes out. Obviously, that also in a school building, that's administrators and teachers speaking with students and students speaking with one another. I think one of the things, and we alluded to it earlier in the conversation, where we've struggled in learning communities is how to get that student voice of communication, right? We communicate a lot at kids and youth, but how do we get it back? How do kids communicate with us? And all the parents out there know that, it's not always, a lot of times you don't hear all the communication. So really being able to get into a teen's world of today, and what's that look like? That looks like social media, and that looks like things that are 2019 methods of communication. So one of the things statewide that the Attorney General's office has done, which has been great in Colorado, is Safe to Tell. Many of our viewers may know what Safe to Tell is, but if you don't, it's a digital application. Kids use the app on their phone, but you can go online or call in and really let somebody know that it's a safe opportunity, anonymous way to let somebody know that either a child is in emotional distress, is having a problem with depression and or is suicidal, and or there's an issue with substances maybe, and or a legitimate threat to the learning community itself. We get all of those sorts of reports at all hours of the day and night. And just to give you a little, I was just looking at some of the data before walking in here, and we had about 15 of those in the first quarter. And then that'll go on, and sometimes we have upticks and downticks, but no report is a bad report, because sometimes obviously we know what's going on, other times we don't. And if we can intervene, as I said earlier, and provide an opportunity to talk with a student who might be experiencing just some distress or having some trouble dealing with issues, then that's great. Maybe we've helped that individual and a learning community. And that is the majority of our Safe to Tell calls. And hopefully we can put that up on the screen and let our viewers know that 1-877-542, I have it written down, SAFE is the Safe to Tell number. And again, that's mostly utilized by our middle school and high school students, but there's no doubt that our parents chime in on some of that too.
Yeah.
But I think when, in addition to, anonymous tip lines, communication, obviously, in any safety situation, we always stress to our kids, our community members, our staff that 911 is the fail-safe. So, in our buildings, which today we talked about integration of different systems like cameras, voice evac, alarms. We have panic buttons now that are linked with our voice evac. It's really a technical system in all of our schools where we have all kinds of alerts and systems. The one consistent fail-safe in all of that is, if none of that works, or even if you want that immediate response, 911 is always the best. And as we've talked about, that there's nothing more special in a community like Summit that's so close-knit to be able to talk to one another and people know one another. The SRO element, I think, as I mentioned, and having community in our schools and people from our schools involved in community action as well, it is so special and so unique, I think, in Summit that you might not get in a more urban environment. So I love the fact that we're all involved in creating safe, secure environments for our kids, and whether that be a facilities issue, a communication thing, or gosh, a group working on a grant. It works well here in Summit. It has, and I have no doubt that it will continue to be.
Yeah, I think you're right. And just to remind parents, some of those reporting channels were Safe to Tell, the app, or online, or 877-542-SAFE. SROs, those trusted adults at home or at school.
Sure.
And then 911, of course.
Right.
Thank you, Drew, for your time and your expertise and your dedication to our students and staff and their safety. We also want to thank our families and our students and our staff for creating positive, safe, and secure learning environments for each and every one of our students, which is so important. Again, thank you, Summit County community and voters, for your support in the 2016 mill and bond. And if you have any other questions or would like more information, please see our website at summitk12.org.
Thank you.